3, 2, and 1. Okay. We are live finally. This is question and answer episode 20. Nice to be back. Thank you all for giving me a week off or a weekend off. I just needed some time to get my head on straight. As you are all aware, it's like, okay, where the hell has C.S. Joseph been? Actually, I'm in the process of a lot of change right now. I'm in the process of moving, etc. Doing stuff for my day job, getting this company more organized and in a better position. We recently released a new lecture. I think we have another lecture coming out tomorrow night, or at least it'll be available on early access tomorrow night. I'm going to be filming an additional lecture today, which, by the way, if you guys want to know, I'll just tell you what the next lecture is. It is another episode of Season 21. It is a social engineering episode. And we're going to be having some really cool, interesting bonus episodes coming out as well. But yes, I am focusing on getting the regular season content out again. That includes Season 21, finishing up Season 10, also Season 14 for Patreon private lectures as well. As we're discovering romantic compatibility with each other. We're also going to be discovering, some other interesting topics as well. We adjusted the Patreon perks this month. I have a meeting just to make sure that we're good to go on that from everything's point of view. We are going to continue to adjust the Patreon perks, so thank you for your patience on that as well. It's been good to do so. And we're also rolling out some other coaching products. We're going to be selling basically coaching packages very soon to make it more affordable for people. We're also going to be doing some giveaways and some coupons. So if you haven't gotten on our email list, if you want to get access to those coupons and whatnot, make sure you're on our email list. You do that from our homepage at csjoseph.life. Make sure you're there to do that. If you don't know how to get on there, just go to our homepage, wait 30 seconds, a pop-up will show up offering you the type grid, which, by the way, we have a new type grid that is about to be released very soon with updated information. And then as we get underway on Season 17 and Season 18, and I think I'm going to just blaze through them like really rapidly for those 2 seasons. I might actually make longer episodes because it's just so much content to try to fit into like 1 hour. It's just insane. I might actually make 2-hour episodes for Season 17 because it's just a lot of content. We're going to be talking about how type actually your personality develops mentally from an infant into an adult, etc. We're going to be covering all those topics. But as we provide that information to you, and those will not be behind the Patreon paywall, by the way. Those will actually be publicly available. People are thinking like, oh, hey, C.S. Joseph has all of his content behind Patreon. No, that's not true. Just this last month, I only maybe released like 1 lecture. And due to, a high amount of stress in my life, but now that the source of said stress is gone, I will be basically producing more content, more lectures, and they will be made publicly available. My desire is to get a minimum of 2 public lectures out a week. That is what my goal is right now, a minimum of 2. Hopefully we can get 3, but it just depends on how much time is available. We also have fictional typing. That's a new thing. Jab is going to be hosting it for us. He's very excited to do this. And we're also going to be bringing in some additional people onto the stream outside of Jab and I to contribute to the discussion as well. And we may be rolling out some interview streams in the future, but we'll just kind of see how that goes. We have a few offers from various other YouTubers who wanted to collaborate, etc., but we're just not really sure where that is, where that's going quite yet. And some of these YouTubers are not MBTI related. Some of them are just basic psychology related. Trying to see if we can get someone on the show to talk about mental disorders and see if we can actually have a discussion about Jungian analytical psychology versus psychiatry for the benefit of this audience. So just a lot of new stuff that's coming up that we're working on. No, we haven't slowed down. We are moving full steam ahead, and I am back in the saddle now. It's just that February is always an extremely difficult month for me. because it's literally my birthday, Valentine's Day, and a third day of the month that I observe every single year for a specific purpose that I will not utter here. Be that as it may, now that February is over, we can move towards March and the Ides of March, right? And March Madness. So like, who wouldn't want to? And then we'll be able to like move forward as a community, and yeah, definitely producing more content. The Patreon only streams will be scheduled hopefully today and posted on Patreon. That way everyone's on the same page ahead of time for the rest of the month, and it's not like last minute or anything. And hopefully more people will be able to join the streams as a result. I think we actually moved some of the streams around to lower tiers on Patreon. That way we can get even more people involved. I think that's a fantastic opportunity that we have. So anyway, I think that's everything for announcements. Jab, you want to add anything else?
You missed one point.
Okay.
We've started pushing out brand new blog posts. We've
Oh,
got a
yeah.
really good one. We've got a really, really good one on INFJs. I think it's 10 ways to spot an INFJs or 10 ways to know if you're an INFJ. One of the two, something like that.
Yeah, it
Um,
was a fantastic post. I really liked it, and I'm glad that we were able to get it out. We have it currently on, where is it? Where's it posted, Jab? It's on Facebook and on the WordPress, right?
Well, it's on Facebook. I think it's also posted on Twitter. But if you take that link, it'll take you to the WordPress. So csjoseph.life. Look at recent blog posts. Really, really, really good INFJ posts. Like every INFJ who I've received feedback from said stuff like, you know me better than I know myself, or amazing blog post, or all I've had is very good feedback. So don't forget to read that.
Yeah, it's
Share it with your friends.
yeah, please share. Just so you guys know, we're going to be releasing content specifically for Facebook. So if you're not already following us or on Facebook, or at least liked our page, you're literally missing out. So look up the CS Joseph page on Facebook. Get on that. The same thing applies for Instagram. On Instagram, we're going to be releasing specific content just for Instagram that you can only find on Instagram. We'll be doing a lot more video posts with me, giving some nice little blurbs and whatnot as I play with Instagram a little bit more and understand it. I got an app recently to help me get subtitles, so you don't always have to like listen to my voice. You can actually like read what I'm saying. So that way, if you're in like a private area, you can't have sound going off, whatnot. You can actually like understand what's being said in the video, even though like you don't have your sound on. So just make sure you're following us on Instagram. We also do giveaways through Instagram. We're gonna be doing a giveaway this month very soon on Instagram. Make sure you are liking and following us on Facebook. We're gonna be doing a giveaway there as well as releasing specific content to those. And if you're not already on our email list, if you're not already on our website, like what are you doing? We're releasing transcripts like really quickly. We've just released I think 2 or 3 recently. We got about 55, 56, 57 of them to go before we're caught up. And we have a team of people who have been gracious enough to spend time transcribing with us and whatnot. Which, by the way, if you're interested in transcribing for csjoseph.life, please get in contact on our Discord server with the madman himself, Mr. Intalio. Please speak with Intalio, and he will get you set up for transcription. If you would like to volunteer and assist us with a transcript or two, we'd very much appreciate it. It just really helps the community get more of the information out there. Also, we're going to be adjusting the website in the very near future. We're going to be adding 16 links, one for each type, that gives a nice Reader's Digest overview of each type. That way, it just makes it so much easier for you, the community, to share it with people. Instead of like coming to the YouTube channel being confused as to where to start, we're actually going to be fixing that.
Exactly.
We've had so many people complain to me about that. So,
Well, yeah, that's actually like a really good point because you can't have your INTJ video being like 40 minutes long and then your INFJ video being like an hour long, and it's like, hey, person who might be an INFJ who might be interested in typology, here's a 1 hour video. What are the odds they're going to watch the whole thing?
yeah,
So
exactly. No, you're right about that. So we're just going to be making it easier for the community, make it more shareable, trying to get all of the content in one place so it's easily accessible to everyone. We're really focusing on accessibility right now. So thank you all for your patience. So with that being said, I think we're done with announcements right now, Jab. What do we got going on for this question and answer session?
all right. So I think we're going to start off with our platinums. We're going to be doing 2 per platinum person, right?
Oh, for Hritik Rana, actually, I blocked you for spamming me. That's why I blocked you. I don't mind it when people send me memes, and I kind of prefer certain people send me memes because it's the memes that I actually like. But you were getting like really spammy, so I decided to block you on Instagram, and that's like literally what happened. Sorry, dude.
Sorry, dude.
Sorry, dude. Oh, and our format, Mr. Jab. Our format is platinum Patreon questions first, silver questions second. We're gonna start off with one question per person today. We may return to more questions. Super chats are third. We have a new super chat feed right now, and that super chat feed basically will tell me that yes, there is a super chat, so we don't forget anyone. I promise we're good on that this time. And then obviously we'll then get to the Discord questions. And then we'll open up to potentially some YouTube questions. Sometimes we do it per episode, sometimes we don't. Just really depends what happens. So, but this is the question priority and whatnot. If you really want the highest chance of getting your question answered, but you don't want to pay money, get on our Discord server. If you are not on our Discord server, what are you doing? And then go to the live stream Q&A, put in your question there. We will get to it eventually, I promise. If you want your question answered faster, you have the super chats, and then you have Patreon, of course. So there's our format. That's how we do things around here. Otherwise, Jab, go ahead and fire it off with the first platinum question.
All right, we're doing 2 platinum questions per person.
Let's keep it at 1 for right now, and then we'll probably revisit them later in the second hour.
All right. All right. This comes from Mello. As the demon is to the unconscious, can the subconscious manifest in an unhealthy way? Like, can someone become a slave to their inferior function?
Absolutely, they can. I think a really good example of this would be Taylor Swift. She's very subconscious developed for an ESFP, and because of how developed she is and how she just is all about her inferior function, being able to write any song she wants, knowing that it'll just be insta popular no matter what. This actually inhibits the growth of her unconscious side of her mind. This inhibits her ability to really develop that higher level of maturity that comes from developing one's unconscious side of their mind. So that's her struggle. And, we could see this consistently with Taylor Swift. Every time you hear about some additional relationship drama or who she's dating, and then people are like, okay, well, how long is it going to be before she gets a song out about that person, etc.? It is a sign of immaturity. It is a sign of kind of like being subconscious addicted, etc. But that's not necessarily like a bad thing. All it is just it goes to show that depending on where you are in the world or your upbringing or your culture, etc., people typically prefer to develop one of the sides of their mind initially, right? And that's kind of where it comes from. They prefer to develop that side of their mind. She preferred to develop subconscious because she had that opportunity, even though most people in the USA end up developing their unconscious first because of just generally how unhappy people are. But she had a shot at happiness really early on, and that's why she went full on subconscious mode. But then her unconscious development is very lacking, and that's why typically she just appears to be this woman who's lacking maturity compared to her peers, right? And that's how I'd answer that question.
Right. Okay, next one comes from Mr. Periani, our favorite Periani.
We love the Periani, and
I say that like there's more than one Periani. I mean, there might be. Who knows? But we only have one Periani in our communities. So Mr. Periani asks, how do people's inner dialogue, inner thoughts, inner conversations to themselves differ depending on type?
All right, ask that question again.
So how do people's inner dialogue, and then in brackets, inner thoughts, inner conversations to themselves, close brackets, differ depending on type? So how does someone's conscience work?
Yeah. So if you were to say Jiminy Cricket is your conscience, right? That's basically conscience, like conscience. That's basically your subconscious talking to you, essentially, in that regard. And people, when people in conversations are like, well, part of me says this, but part of me says that, and they're really talking about the different sides of their mind, because each of the sides of their mind literally have a voice in their head, and they're literally juggling those voices in their head, essentially, to determine, how to make a decision. And truth be told, I've been listening a lot to my superego recently. And I've just been really enjoying just delving into my SE demon and really spiting people and making fun of people and really burning down their realities, because I've come to realize that I have to, through my subconscious, sometimes it's just my duty to spite people and light them on fire for the sake of their own good, right? To
Right.
criticize them in such a way, to make fun of them, to mock them for how stupid they're being, basically. Because I've come to realize that through my moral trickster in developing my own superego, it may actually be my moral duty to mock people for being stupid so that they stop being stupid and recognize through me shaming them with my demon function how with my superego, shaming them with my superego, how they actually need to change. Because if they're not going to listen to me, if they're not going to trust me, if they're not going to, if they're not someone worth being loyal to, if they're not going to listen to any strategies I provide them, well, I guess that means I have to burn their reality down. And this is a more of a healthy superego approach, in developing my superego as I develop my subconscious more and as I develop my unconscious more, essentially. And that's, the direction I would take it. So yes, absolutely, Periani, we do have inner dialogue between all four sides of our mind, and that's kind of generally how it manifests. So
Hmm. Perfect. So that's for the platinums. I mean, there's a couple more, but there's a second one from Periani and another few from Mello. So if we're going on from that with only one each for now, that brings us to the silver, and we've got Valentina Belovsky. And she asks, you said ISFPs are able to become metaphysical later in life, even though they have any trickster. Why is this?
it's
Why doesn't
superego
this also
development,
apply? I
developing their
see.
superego. Like for example, my former father-in-law, he was an ISF, or he is an ISFP. He's still alive. He's in his 70s right now, and he's constantly reading any metaphysical book he can get his hands on. He actually just finished watching or reading Medical Medium, who I forget who the author is on that. I have one of his books around here. I think it's like Anthony something. I don't remember. Uh, he's also he's read Andreas Moritz. He's who is like a doctor. He's also read a lot about meditation, uh, 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 astral projection, etc. A lot of metaphysical things, a lot of metaphysical concepts. David Data as well. So yeah, as ISFPs and ISTPs get older and older, they become more as they as they develop their mastery of reality. That's like, well, what about unreality? What about the metaphysical? I have mastery of physics here, but what about metaphysics? Because I'm starting to see that physics is impacted by metaphysics way later in life. It's almost hypocritical if you think about it. And then as a result of
Right.
that, it's like, oh crap, okay, sure, maybe I just need to, figure out what else is real. And that's where they begin that journey. And it really only comes as a result of their subconscious and their unconscious being really developed such that they're able to start healthfully developing their superego. So
Mm-hmm. Well, and the second half of that question is also, why doesn't this apply to ISTPs?
it does apply to ISTPs in the same way.
Okay. Good. I think that answers that. Next question. What types would be most likely to want to colonize Mars?
INTPs, lol.
Are you just saying that because Elon Musk?
You're damn right about that.
Can your type change?
Yes, through cognitive transition. Please watch the lecture about cognitive transitions in season one. Next.
Can it change permanently?
It can change permanently through extreme injury or extreme trauma.
INFP here. How do I get over rejection from people?
Um, you need to be willing to be ashamed. You need to be willing to be so publicly known that everyone thinks less of you, and you're not, and you're willing to still operate and function emotionally with everyone around you thinking less of you. That way, you're able to take risks because you need to stop living your life in such a bubble where you're so afraid of other people thinking less of you that you end up like having no action at all and being stuck in inaction. How about you just take risks? How about you just make decisions regardless of how others think of you? That would be nice, and that's healthy.
Right. Well, I mean, if I can chime in a little bit there.
Go ahead.
I mean, I'm kind of a bit of an arrogant SOB with my TE parent. I'm kind
Me
of like,
too, except with TI parent, as someone on Instagram reminded me last night.
hmm well, my attitude is usually something along the lines of, hey, if you're so stupid that you don't realize how absolutely amazing I am, then you're not the kind of person I'd care being rejected by, because you're not that great after all.
I know, right?
I take that approach with jobs. I take that approach with rejection, whatever avenue you're talking about, job applications, relationships, etc. Let's go to the next one.
And you're deleting them as you go, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I saw that.
Helen Zeng asks, "Does a person's type explain whether or not that person is good at recognizing directions?" INTJ female here. I find myself very bad at directions, need navigation all the time, even with the places I've been to several times before.
That's not a bad thing. That's a okay. So that's extroverted sensing. So, sense of direction usually is an introverted sensing thing. That's why ENTPs like myself, or ENFPs, or basically anyone with SI, just in their top four functions, they have an amazing sense of direction. They always know where they are. Like, for example, when I'm walking around outside, I always know what direction north is at all times. I always know what direction north is. I even actually orient my body and how I walk specifically based on nautical directions, because I always know where north is. Because when I'm in a new area I've never been before, I look at the sun, I see the sun's position. Okay, I know what direction north is. Then I look at the buildings and see what direction they're built in, because some buildings are built towards the east or west, or they're built north south. And then I look at the directions that buildings are built. It's like, okay. And then I look at the streets next to the building, what direction the streets typically go, because streets also typically go north or south or east or west in terms of their biggest main streets, or their or boulevards, etc., just to kind of see where that goes. And then as a result, this creates an SI introverted sensing framework in terms of sense of direction within. That way, I always know where I am at all times. And the more familiar over time I become with an area, the more I've just basically completely committed the entire locale to memory. Completely. I know every little nook and cranny about it no matter what. Whereas someone like an INTJ, because they are very short term memory and seeing into the future with their future memory of their introvert intuition, that abstraction in conjunction with their short term memory through extroverted sensing, they lose all of that directional information because they're not able to create a totem or a landmark basically that helps them find certain things. Now, some INTJs over time will rely on landmarks to remember where they are specifically, so they end up getting lost. But they're so triple movement, they're moving so quickly that when they're on their Waze app or their Google GPS or whatever GPS program they use, which, by the way, if you're not using Waze, like, what are you doing? WAZE, download it, please. Do us all a favor. Based on that,
Chase, they haven't sponsored us yet.
I know
Gee.
they haven't sponsored us yet, so maybe they should. I mean, it'd be nice because Google owns that, so I guess Google's sponsoring us, right? I mean, that's probably not
Right.
going uh, to think on that. So, but yeah, that's where it comes from. Situational awareness, nautical awareness for introverted sensors, but for extroverted sensors, it's not really. Their brain just doesn't store that information in their long term memory, especially in SI demon. So it's important for them to rely on certain landmarks and then kind of know where they are. Otherwise, they just have to continue relying on GPS or have their introverted sensor, because if you're an INTJ, hopefully you have an ENTP around, or if you're an ENTJ, hopefully you have an INTP around, or if you're an ISTP, hopefully you have an ESTJ around, or an ISFP, hopefully you have an ESFJ around, who will just freaking remember where everything is for you anyway, and you just ask them and they'll just point it out. And that's it. You don't have to worry about forgetting where anything is anymore, because you literally have a walking memory totem next to you who handles all of that for you, and then you always feel safe about where you're at all the time, and then it's no longer a concern for you whatsoever. So yeah, that's how I would answer that question.
All right. Next question comes from Bytes, and she asks, "How would one develop NI inferior and or NI critic?"
One develops inferior through basically taking risks, allowing themselves to want the wrong thing, and failing over and over and over again until they realize the right thing that they should be wanting. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like trial and error, kind of like what introverted sensing does with introverted sensing inferior, because trial and error and failing a million times until you have a success, That's the introverted sensing inferior way. But introverted intuition inferior is a little bit different. It's about seeing what other people are doing and then wanting to do what they're doing, and then just knowing that, okay, if other people have been successful with this, I can be successful with it too, and then just making that decision, forcing yourself to make that decision even if you're afraid, and having courage. Basically, that's how you develop introverted intuition inferior. In terms of developing NI critic, it's really hard because it's the wisdom function. The critic function is all about wisdom, and trying to give someone wisdom is really, really difficult. The best way, the fastest way to learn wisdom is through failure. So you need to fail as much as possible. Quite frankly, this is one of the highest values of Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, specifically when Yoda is talking to Luke Skywalker and telling him that failure is the greatest teacher. If you want to develop your critic function, you need to understand that failure is a good thing. In fact, failure is actually more important than success because of the wisdom that you can extract from the failure. And then as a result of having that failure, you can have a better life as you move on, essentially. And that's kind of the direction you need to go for that purpose. So... But yeah, it's I mean, that's just one direction. Now, NI-critic, however, can have some very difficult issues with it. So INTPs and INFPs, they can get so stuck in their comfort zone that they don't grow. Like, for example, INTPs are notorious for not popping the question to their women. They are notorious for it because they're like, I mean... I see other people being irresponsible with like wanting to pop the question to their woman, and I don't want to do it at the wrong time. The timing's got to be perfect. And they're like overly perfect with the timing on that. And then because of that 4 or 5 years go by and their woman's like, wow, is he ever going to propose to me? This is bullshit. And then she just decides to leave him. And then he's like, oh, I wish I could have had her. But then she's likely an INJ or an ENJ, an NJ at that point. And they're like, nope, you've been door slammed because you had your chance to commit to me and you didn't. So get out of my life. Sorry, bro. And that is very, very normal for INTPs and INFPs. They really struggle with commitment in that way because they just don't allow themselves to want anything because everyone else around them is so irresponsible with what they want. I don't want to look irresponsible with what I want too, and it might be irresponsible to pop the question. And I have TE inferior, and I don't want her to reject me because I'm so afraid. And I have social anxiety, FE inferior, and I don't want her to reject me. I'm so afraid. Grow up. Seriously, grow up. Because let me tell you something, INPs. Like, if you're an INFP and I see you doing that and you're in your comfort zone, I'm going to publicly shame you. I'm going to go to all the people close to you and I'm going to tell the truth about you to them, and I'm going to expose you. That way you're actually motivated to change for once. I will feed you to my demon, and I will have no regrets in doing so because it'll be me doing my moral duty by you to expose you and shame you to motivate your ass. Because if you can't be obligated to do something, if you're not motivated to gain better social status for yourself, if you're not willing to do the right thing, if you're unwilling to be a good person about it, well, that gives me license to feed you to my demon, and I will publicly shame you for it. So if you don't want me to shame you for it, how about you actually wake up and like live life for once and make decisions? And INTPs, same thing. Because here's the thing, I will show people how uncaring you are. Because it's like, oh, yeah, because you should be doing your duty, especially by your woman. If you're not going to like propose to her after like 5 years, are you out of your mind? Like, how about you just be a man for once? That would be nice. And guess what, folks? Intuitives, when intuitives are dating intuitives, especially when you have an NJ with an NP, they can figure out pretty quick, probably within the first 90 to 180 days, as to whether or not the relationship is going to last indefinitely or not. Because guess what? They're intuitive. They see into the future, right? They can figure it out really quick. So this idea that you have to wait 5 years, INPs, for like a proposal is absolutely ridiculous to me. Grow up. Like, seriously. Intuitives have it figured out real quick. And if your woman is even talking about marriage, like even talking as an NJ, talking about it, take a hint, bro. Wake up. Like, seriously, wake up. All right, I think I beat that one in the head pretty well.
Yeah, you did. Wow. I can see the future.
Damn right.
Yeah. All right, next one. Rose Rage asks, what are some good questions / tips for determining someone's type on Tinder or other dating apps?
Ooh. There is a... Sorry, I wanted to get that little comment in there. Yeah, I had to get that little comment in there. Okay, so there is a way. There is a way. I don't know how to do it on Tinder. I've researched OkCupid with it. So like when you're doing OkCupid, for example, which in my opinion, OkCupid, while it's not one of the more popular dating apps, it is probably the best dating app that you could utilize for determining, type with people. And you do this through answering the questions. So you create your profile, you go on, you start answering the different questions. I think they had like at first when they first came out, they had like 2,500 questions you answer. I think now it's like over 200,000 questions that you can answer. Just depends what people say on Reddit. I don't know how many exact questions they have. But you answer the questions specific to your type, following social engineering best practices according to season 21. And you can also answer the questions for them while you're doing that, and you answer it according to their type, basically. And obviously, you'd want to target a golden pair. If you want to know more about golden pairs, shameless plug, you should probably be a Patreon Gold tier member so you can actually watch the golden pair lectures and understand romantic compatibility so you can optimize your dating app experience, right? And you can do this through OkCupid. I do not know how to do this yet with Tinder. I still have to talk to somebody about making a fake profile on Tinder and see if there's actually some way to game the system to do that, like what we did with OkCupid, because we had a fake profile that we were using with OkCupid with one of my clients for a while, and we were able to actually get some pretty decent results answering the questions and gaming it for specific types. Absolutely. So yes, there is a methodology, but those methodologies I usually share with my coaching clients is not necessarily a methodology that I actually talk about, publicly. I mean, I've been
shameless
hired.
plug for coaching.
Amen. I've also been hired to social engineer or do matchmaking for relationships, which I have done for people. Although it's kind of interesting because like I'm literally Hitch, but and I'm super great in everyone else's relationships. When it comes to my own, it's like maybe I should like work on that a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? But I just coming off of a 4-year relationship. What do you expect, right? So, although that was months ago at this point. But anyway, with that being said, yes, there is a methodology to it. And I just gave you a freebie there with OkCupid. And in terms of Tinder, I'm not entirely sure how to go about doing that quite yet. Haven't spent enough time researching. So, but yeah, that's how I'd answer that question.
Beautiful. Can you give an example of movement in finisher type conversation?
A movement and finisher type conversation. The starter type initiates, and then the finisher type responds. Yep. And then the initiator keeps initiating. They gain a lot of energy. The introvert responder keeps responding. They gain a bunch of energy, and then all of a sudden they spend that energy, and then the introvert starts initiating, and then the starter type starts responding, spending some of their mental energy, and it's just this amazing synergy of initiations and responding, and it creates a dance between, especially if it's a masculine and feminine relationship, then it even supercharges the dance between the masculine and the feminine as a result of such an interaction. And within the context of golden pair, that's even better. So yeah, like different levels to that.
Yeah, that's a pretty good answer. Next question comes from an INFJ. INFJ here. How do I get my ESFJ mother to listen to me for once? She keeps interrupting me whenever I try and speak, or she just thinks I'm saying things with a bad intention and refuses to talk to me for days. What can our INFJ do, Chase?
Move out, get a job.
I think this person already has that.
Okay. Well, if they're already out, then basically question her loyalty. Be like, why would I want to have a conversation? Like literally say the words, why would I want? Why would I want to have a conversation with you if you're just going to treat me like this? Literally say that. That's you stabbing her inner child. If she's behaving poorly that way, that gives you license to stab her inner child. And be like, why would I want to be around you? Why would I want to have a conversation with you? Why would I want to be here? You just hit that child hard, Or why would I want to make you comfortable? Ooh, that's a good one. Hit that parent really hard too. Or I don't value this conversation. Hit the hero. Or why do you think it's okay to treat me this way? Hit the inferior function. Why do you think this? Why do you think that? Like literally question her thinking. Of course, it'll make her feel stupid in the long run, and she'll get really upset at you. But yeah, do it that way, and that's just basically how you adjust your talking as a result. So.
All right. I think that's all the Patreon Q&A. It says one person is typing, but I'll come back later to.
Let's get Aiden Washnee's question in the Platinum Q&A real quick, and then we'll move on.
Oh, I didn't see that. That just came in.
Yeah, it just came in. Let's get it, Mr.
Right.
Aiden.
Do you think that the nature alone will make two people work out if they try for it, or
Absolutely.
is the nature an important component as well?
I think he means nurture. Is nurture an important component? Nurture is an important component. But let me tell you something, folks. Nature is so powerful that if you have golden pair highest compatibility amongst nature in a relationship, for example, the nurture issues can be easily handled, especially the more time that the golden pair spends with each other. From a relationship standpoint, the nurtural issues will just go away. Not only that, Alex, who is one of our members here on the CSJ team, he made something a very poignant point on our Recovering Nice Guy support group this week. It's on Thursday nights. If you're a man who is suffering from nice guy syndrome, or has suffered from nice guy syndrome and would like to prevent relapse of nice guy syndrome, one, you need to read this book. Nor Mr. Nice Guy. If you haven't, like, seriously, if you have a penis and you haven't read this book, what the hell are you doing? Like, seriously.
Right.
What the hell are you doing? You need to read this book immediately. It's written by an ENTP for men. Get it done. Grow up. Get it done. And then, as a result of that, you can join, if you want, our Recovering Nice Guy support group. Every week it's on Thursdays. I think so. Robert Potts, please don't shoot me. And then... So anyway, Alex shared with the group this week about how, when he gets into a relationship with a woman, he makes it very clear to them something, and he's an ENTJ. He makes it very clear to them. He's like, it'd be nice if I could find somebody who is not trying to change me, right? That's his main point, right? Whereas from an NP standpoint, like an ENTP standpoint, it's a little bit different. From my point of view, it's like, I am actually willing to change if I need to change. But it would be nice if someone would also be willing to change a little bit for me. So what that creates is a yin and yang equilibrium of sharing and trust and potential changes that could be made, a growth that handles, and all that covers is human nurture. So if you have super high compatible natures together, then nurture will start to adjust for the sake of the nature, because even nature versus nurture is in a primary secondary relationship from a yin and yang equilibrium point of view, with nature being primary. Nurture is still extremely powerful, but nature is still primary. So as a result of having primary nature, in there, you just want to make sure that you have all of that handled. You would definitely want all that handled. So nature goes a long way. That's my point, right? If you got compatible nature, you're good to go. And you just need to spend time communicating about all those nurtural issues, and eventually it'll be fine. The more maturity you have, the more your unconscious sides of your mind for both of you in your relationship, the more developed they are, then the more likely it is for you to get over any nurtural related obstacle. And that's where you get terms like love conquers all, right? Especially in the midst of a golden pair, you can really rely on that super high compatibility. You can rely on it. It is something you can rely on for an indefinitely amazing relationship, provided that the maturity levels are there to get through any of those nurtural secondary obstacles. So that's how I'd answer that question.
Right. I'm gonna hijack the show a little bit. I actually saw a really good question in the YouTube chat. Is there a female version of that book, Chase?
Yes, there is. That book is Codependent No More by Melody Beattie.
Perfect. Codependent No More. You've heard it here.
Codependent No More.
Go to csjoseph.life. There's a store tab or a books tab.
Books tab.
Go into there. Sorry, it's a books tab. You go into there, you'll find it in there. It's just an affiliate link. That means we get credit for linking you to it. So we'll get 5 cents or something, enough for a pickle and a hamburger.
Amen. Jab is coin operated today, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly. I mean, I need my pickles in my hamburgers. Like, it just needs to happen. So, yeah. So, if you buy the book through our website, it's an affiliate link, which means it'll take you through Amazon. You're actually buying it through Amazon. It doesn't cost any more. We just get credit for linking you to the book if you purchase.
Hashtag affiliate links are win. LOL.
Exactly.
All right, cool. What's next?
All right, next question. Since you're going into cognitive axis with the cognitive functions, are you going to drop some hints in your future lectures on how to pick up on these functions in conversation?
Yes, and that is discussed at length with examples. We're actually be analyzing SMS text messaging conversations and how to actually extract cognitive axes from messages or any written text, for example, even spoken words, for example, in season 18. We'll be going into it in depth.
Yeah, I think that would make a good article as well. What do you think? Article before or after the lecture?
Yeah, it would make a great article. Of course. Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll have to discuss that later.
We can do Ratchet 19's question real quick and then move on to Discord questions.
Right. Ratchet 19, what would a relationship between an ENFJ and an INTJ be like?
Absolute cancer. Don't do it. And next question.
Absolute can't. You're not going to explain why?
I'm going to give you really good experience. No, I'm going to give you really good experience. I want to touch you all over in the bedroom. No, I want to touch you all over in the bedroom. Yeah, right. Cancer. Next.
Okay. All right. Whew. All right. I think for the regular Discord questions, we can blitz through them. What do you reckon? Short answers. Bam, 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 bam,
Who knows?
bam, bam.
Let's see what happens. Let's see.
Where's that? Where's our question? Questions with this choice. All right. From an evolutionary standpoint, why is there only a 30% chance of giving birth to / raising an N-type? Or an intuitive?
We don't know that yet. And as this community grows, we'll be releasing software where we will be able to actually answer that question. So
nice.
And Kate Nani says, besides your channel, what channel do you recommend to learn more about this subject? None.
None. Does Linda Behrens have a channel? I
don't care for Linda Behrens in that way. I mean, the only thing I find Linda Behrens useful is interaction styles and temperaments. Outside of that, I don't care for anything else she says.
No? Okay. All right, let's go to the next question. If an ENTP and an ENFP go into business together for consulting, what strengths should they double down on, and what blind spots will they need to compensate for?
Which type?
ENTP, ENFP.
So which blind spots? For consulting blind spots?
So if those two types were to go into business with each other,
oh, gross.
What strengths should they double down on, and what blind spots should they compensate for?
Yeah, that's really rough. They're both starter types. Basically, they need amazing secretaries. Both of them do. And let the secretaries kind of drive that bus. Otherwise, they're not going to get anything done, and it's just going to turn into a shit show. I don't recommend that.
What? So. They literally need Donna from Zeus.
Yes, exactly.
Did you watch Suits? Did you get the reference, or am I like talking out my ass?
I did not get the reference because I haven't lived.
Okay. Shame. I need to start
reading tabula rasa when it comes to certain pop culture references. Sorry.
Shame. Tanya just said she posted her question. Oh, did you answer that question already?
How can I not let my TI trickster function not get to me? I'm an ESFP. Is that the question? I'll answer it anyway. How can I not let my TI trickster function not get to me? Basically, you can't. Your trickster will be your trickster, and that's just how it's going to be. I mean, do you expect me to have moral behavior as an ENTP? You shouldn't. I can only have moral behavior when I'm around a moral person. So like Jab, for example, he has FI child, right? INTJs in my life, they have FI child, or the ISTJ who's on my executive team, he has FI child as well. And I utilize their moral compasses for my moral decision making because I just have no clue how to behave morally, for example. So, as a TI trickster, ESFP, what I would recommend you do, and I believe this is Tanya's question, I really hope that's it. Uh, to answer your question, fill yourself or fill your life with TI users. If you have
Mm-hmm.
TI users around them, have them verify your beliefs, verify everything for you, and make sure you have multiple TI users. So if they're saying the same thing, guess what? That's true. You should probably listen to that. Otherwise, your TI trickster is basically going to be a blind spot indefinitely until you develop your subconscious and your unconscious simultaneously and begin the process of developing your superego on your path to enlightenment, etc. Right? That's the entire process. Okay? You just have to do it holistically. You can't just beeline for it and try to focus on developing your trickster. That's just going to fail and blow up in your face.
Perfect. Shall we jump on to the next question?
Yes.
This next question is tagged with the names of three people, Boot, Mobile, and Celestial. And Boot asks, if T input is needed for FI to figure out its values, is FE input needed for TI to establish their personal logical framework?
No. 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 TE is used to provide input to TI. TI is
Right.
used to produce the output FE. FE is used to give what it needs to or no, to provide process for FE, excuse me. FE is the output to provide to FI, and FI provides feedback back to TE. Basically, that is the order in which it goes.
All right.
Put,
Uh,
process, output, feedback. TE,
right.
TI, FE, FI. That's the whole process of how information flows through the functions.
Right. Nice. Next question comes from Kana. As an INFJ, when you realize you haven't actually achieved anything in life so far other than surviving, and you can't find anything anymore you really love, and you fall into this black hole of what am I doing with my life? I just want to die. How do you get out of that loop and find the drive to do something again?
Is
As an
this
INFJ, how do you deal with the feeling bad when you know you hurt someone?
Well, usually INFJs are wrong that they actually hurt someone. They just assume that they hurt someone for one. So you might want to verify whether or not that's actually true before you do anything, before you start feeling any way. And sometimes INFJs just can't emotionally help but think that, yeah, I feel bad. You know what I'm saying? And not exactly a really good situation. So uh, based on that, really all you could do is verify everything, verify your beliefs, verify feelings, verify what's going on first. Use your TI child, verify, and you'll be much more successful.
Right. Okay, next question. Hi, I'm an INFP. I am chronically uncomfortable, especially in social situations. I feel like this has caused an issue with some SE users in my life, especially SE inferiors. I feel like I accidentally push my INFJ, INTJ friends away as they can sense my uncomfortableness and they become skittish in return, thus making me more uncomfortable. How can I stop this from being an issue?
You need to develop your parent function and find out specifically with expert intuition parent what other people want. That way, you know what you should do in those social situations. You'll be more comfortable because if you already know what they're looking for, if you already know what they want ahead of time, you can adjust yourself and adjust your behavior appropriately, right? That way, you are more comfortable. Those SE inferiors, those SE child, those NJs of your life basically will absorb how comfortable you are, and then as a result, become comfortable with you, right? That's the process that I would recommend.
Well, and it's not just that. Like you said, developing the parent. You know, the parent's job is to protect the child. So if your parents more developed, your parents doing a better job at protecting your child feels safer, and therefore, you know, those people who can bypass the parent are going to
Exactly.
be able to give you a good experience. So, I mean, it's just the fundamental basics of the parent-child relationship.
Yep.
Next question. Is constantly saying to someone you know or other filler words is caused by a function or something? So, you know what I'm
It's
saying?
just it's just I mean, is typically TE, but it could be even FE in like
Right.
child or inferior slots or even nemesis slots.
Right. I think this is just a discourse particle. I'm not sure it's associated with types.
Yeah, it can
Just
also be
people.
very neutral as well, so I can't really answer that question without more information. So
Right.
there's an ant on my microphone. That's really odd. Okay. No, go away.
Which function does humor lie in, if any? Seems like it'd be fourth or fifth since our insecurities and worries lie there.
Humor can be an extroverted sensing. It can also be an extroverted intuition. It can be an extroverted feeling, extroverted thinking. It's really something that you just look from a cognitive axis or a cognitive orbit point of view. And when the cognitive functions combine together and create combos, and then they're able to produce humor as a result. Anyone can be humorous. They just have to realize they just have to have mastery over combining their functions to create humorous content. Like for me, I'm just sarcastic, and that's kind of where my humor comes from. But then there's people like you with ESFP subconscious who are actually like legitimately funny about literally everything, and it's just this form of labels and mocking, which I very much enjoy. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Next question comes from Best Pal, and he asks, in social engineering vids, how to SEENTPs, you say that you have to feed optimistic functions to win people over. In relation to compatibility, does this mean that relationships that link optimistic to optimistic functions work best, or just give us the most joy? Or does it
Short
not matter?
Short answer is yes. Long answer is no. Long answer no being you want to make sure you have all of the functions covered, not just the optimistic functions. But
Right.
because the optimistic functions are feeding into the pessimistic functions through cognitive axis, over time that'll be fine. But you want to make sure, for a long-term relationship, especially in the context of golden pair, your cognitive functions are matching up exactly, and then as a result, you can have the best or most optimized or efficient relationship that exists.
Perfect. Next question. Is the superego only accessible through demon mode? If not, what other time do we switch to it?
Uh,
Nurture.
yeah, I mean, you can be pushed into your superego against your will through nurtural situations. Otherwise, the most healthy way to get to your superego is through developing your subconscious and your unconscious first. And once they're developed, you can begin the process of developing your superego. That's where I am kind of at in the stage of my life right now. I am starting the process to develop my superego in a very healthy way. And I'm just allowing myself to be that sarcastic asshole every now and then, in such a way for the benefit of my fellow human beings, not necessarily for my own joy, as it were. I actually had a discussion about this last night with an ENTJ about how they can actually develop their FE demon. So I'll share this story with you folks right now because it's actually pretty profound. And I explained to him directly, and I said, well, you're going to have to learn how to dutifully give gifts to other people without any strings attached, without any expectation of return on investment whatsoever. You give a gift, and it's not a present, because a present is what you want as an ENTJ to give to somebody else. It's you desiring to give that thing to someone else. It has nothing to do with that. You need to spend time finding out what they want and getting them a gift, which is something they want, not something you want to give them. That's a present because you're presenting it to them. But a gift is giving something to somebody that they actually want. And then not only that, when you give it to them, no expectation for a return on investment, no strings attached whatsoever. You are giving for the sake of giving and never expecting anything in return. That is how an ENTJ develops their FE demon. Good luck getting them to that point where they can actually do that. Because from their point of view, ENTJs are the people that I teach. Guess what? Selfishness or greed in the moment is not justified by generosity in the past. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So based on that, like, ENTJs have to learn to actually give to other people without truly expecting anything in return ever. Giving for the sake
No
of
covert
giving.
contracts.
No covert
Pick up
contracts.
no.
No
Pick up
strings
no more Mr.
attached.
Nice Guy and show it up to the camera again, really quick. No more Mr. Nice Guy. I'd sing it right now, but I'm afraid we'd get copy strike.
Yeah.
Maybe if I sang it like Eric Cartman, we wouldn't get copy strike. What do you reckon?
I don't know.
But yeah, no more
You're
Mr. Nice Guy.
welcome.
No, No covert contracts. That's the trick.
No cover contracts.
Do you have anything more you want to add, or is that it?
That's it.
All right. Oh God. Okay. I'm going to ask this question very vaguely. So this person wants you to type a certain person from history who's notorious for being a person involved in World War II. And
Right.
their justification is everywhere online it says that he's an INFJ. I don't want to say his name because I feel like, Google with their algorithm's going to transcribe it and be like, said person's name demonetized. Um,
That's true.
so everyone online says he's an INFJ, but you were affirmant that he wasn't when I commented on one of your videos recently.
Yeah. Just to make it clear, yes, he is not an INFJ. No, I will not reveal the actual type that he actually is, and I will not discuss this publicly whatsoever. Maybe
Oh,
privately
I'm
with
glad I
certain
didn't say
people.
it.
Maybe privately with some people I will. Otherwise, no, we will not be doing that because the type that he actually is yeah, no, thank you, not going in that direction. So next.
Next, who's the most corrupt INFJ you've ever seen, and can the same corruption happen to an ISFJ?
I have met two really, really corrupt INFJs in my life. I will not reveal who they are. I will not reveal my
Right.
relationship to them. But yes, I know some really, really corrupt INFJs. Actually, three of them now that I think about it. And one of them is where that story of being willing to steal for their friends, basically, or steal for someone in
Right.
need, and they elect themselves as crazy Robin Hood person or whatever to steal clothing out of a store for like a homeless guy or something like that. That's absolutely ridiculous. And like they went to jail for that. Like no. And another one has some serious sexual issues. Actually, two of the other ones have some serious sexual issues. Um, and they get insanely corrupt, and they really really take like there's cheating involved, there's violating the tenets of polyamory involved. It's not exactly a healthy situation. They are not healthy people to be around, and I do not recommend anyone be around them whatsoever. So yeah, I do know some corrupt INFJs, and it's because they're mirroring terrible people, so and unhealthy people, when they just need to get the losers out of their life, and they'd actually be a lot healthier themselves. So
Just get the losers out of your life.
get the losers out of your life.
Perfect. Okay, next question. You speak of gut microbiomes in your materials. What's the best way to restore a healthy gut microbiome after undergoing antibiotic treatment for H. pylori?
Um, You'd have to talk to John Brisson at fixyourgut.com. You can actually talk to John Brisson at any time on the Discord server, because John is a member of the CSJ Discord server. He's the main content contributor at fixyourgut.com. There's a lot of different
Yep.
ways. You could do probiotics, you could do GOS. There's even some arguments that being raw vegan can change your microbiome. Colostrum, drinking baby milk, mother's milk from like a human mother, that she's nursing, but you're basically drinking that
Right.
milk yourself to restore your microbiome. There's a lot of different options out there that you could actually do that with. So
Well, I mean, I know a little bit about this, and I prescribe to the theory that the appendix is actually a an area where your body stores excess
probiotics, yes.
bacteria for the gut. Yeah, exactly.
Except I
So
don't have one
realistically,
because mine exploded when I was 4 years old, and I got sepsis and I almost died, and I have a huge scar right in front of my gut. And I mean, it's huge. It's like 7 inches uh, deep, deep scar from that surgery when I was 4 years old, and I like almost died on the table. It was insane, and I'm very thankful to be alive because I'm a survivor. So
well, as I was about to say before you said that, if you have your appendix still, realistically, if you just fed your gut prebiotics, you should realistically be able to get it back to scratch. Now, the issue comes in if you don't have an appendix, because then you need to probably feed yourself some probiotics at that point. Um, but yeah, do some more research into that. Speak to John. he's got some good articles on his website you could probably read into. Next question. Where did you... Oh, could you consciously change into your shadow? You've previously stated you've used your ISFJ subconscious for 2 years for your wife, similar to subconscious. How do you think I will be able to stay in my shadow? How long do you think I will be able to stay in my shadow?
That just all depends. You could stay in your shadow because you're forced to against your will. If you're trying to do it willfully, that's just for a limited time. It's really however much mental energy you have. Because once you run out of mental energy, you're going to go back into your ego to try to recharge, and that's basically simply how to answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, like for example, I'm an introvert, yet I can extrovert for at least 2 hours, as evident by these streams. I think they count as extroverting, even though it's just
They
like me and
do.
you, and then like 100 people in chat.
Yep.
Where do you get the names for your functions? You're my primary source of information. And I cross-reference to other sites, but I can't find the names hero, parent, etc. anywhere else.
Talk to Dr. John Beebe about that. Beebe. Buy his book, and you should be good to go on that.
Dr. John Beebe. What is it about each individual type that makes them more masculine or feminine?
Basically, if your interaction style is direct, then you are technically have more masculine energy within your ego. If you're a starter type, you're more informative, so you technically have more feminine energy in your ego. However, as you develop your subconscious, aka your anima, animus, etc., you'll be able to tap into the other energy on the other side as you become a more balanced human being and have access to both energies simultaneously. Same goes for direct types who have that masculine energy, and they can actually develop their feminine energy over time, because it's all about primary and secondary. Even though your subconscious, aka your anima animus, is already the opposing gender of your ego to begin with, there still is the overarching energies of masculine and feminine per archetype to begin with, outside of your physical gender. So,
all right. Next question. A person gives a link and he says, I found this Reddit post about why we should drop cognitive functions. I skimmed over it admittedly, but I'm no expert on any of this. What's your take?
ask that question.
I mean, I don't even think you need to read it. So someone posted a link to a Reddit post of someone saying why we should drop cognitive functions. And what's your take on it? I mean, I don't even think you need to read it, because basically it's just some MBTI crap saying that MBTI is more important than cognitive functions and forgetting the foundations.
And this is a Discord question, right?
Yeah, this is a Discord question.
Yeah, I want to skip that. Next.
Do certain personality types have a natural proclivity to master an archetype of the mature masculine / feminine, or is there absolutely no correlation in regards to human nurture and nature?
There is no real correlation, but in terms of society bias, people would say that ENTJ men and ESTJ men, actually in charge types, men develop masculinity faster than the rest, and starter type women develop the feminine faster than the rest, specifically amongst the extroverts. Well, actually, out of everybody. So that's just a societal bias that has nothing to do with reality or nurture or nature at all. It's just our stupid bias here within first world society.
Okay, next question. Hello, Mr. C.S. Joseph. I have an ISTP friend, and he's consistently telling me that he can predict the future. I tell him that if he can predict the future, he must be an NE user, but he keeps telling me that he's verified it many times and I am dead wrong. And when I tell him that ISTPs only care about what's happening at the moment and they can't really tell the future, he tells me that I'm wrong again, and that Chase's logic and understanding of ISTPs is flawed. And now he's been typing many NE users such as Steve Jobs and Sherlock Holmes, who can obviously predict the future, as ISTPs, and telling me that NI can predict the future in a different way, and that he's just like them and that he can predict the future as well. Is it possible that he's bipolar and has two types, or is there another explanation for this?
Or he's an INTP, LOL. And he needs to actually read the actual definitions of the functions. I prefer Dr. John Beebe and the cognitive senses according to Carl Jung, and he should do his research. Next.
Having seen the trickster video, can we assume a tendency for disloyalty in ENTJs or not?
Yes, we can.
If feel
They
if
are as
feeling loyalty
only
was
as
offered,
loyal as you are to them.
right? So they mirror your loyalty.
Yep.
Hello, C.S. Joseph. I'm an ENTJ and I have an ESTJ father as well as an ENFJ grandmother, and we tend to fight a lot with each other. What can I do to stop this?
Ask that again.
So, ENTJ who has an ESTJ father and an ENFJ grandmother, and they fight a lot with each other. How can they stop this?
ENTJ father, ENFJ
No, no,
grandfather.
no. It's an ENTJ person who has an ESTJ father and an ENFJ grandmother.
Mm,
So the father of the ENTJ is an ESTJ,
get away from them.
and the get away from them.
Yeah, like seriously, get away from them. Like I, there's not much an ENTJ can do. They're super pragmatic, and both those types are affiliative, and they're like, you need to do the right thing. You need to do the right thing, and the ENTJ is like, I'm not doing the right thing. I'm just gonna do whatever I want. Screw you. So based on the situation,
Right.
the ENTJ just needs to get away from them and be free. If
Well,
that
could
means
could
moving
the
out and getting their own
ENTJ
place, they should probably do that.
right? Could the ENTJ just develop their subconscious, say for family dinners or whatever, like Christmas dinners or birthdays or whatever, that they could
Yeah, that's
interact
fine.
better?
Yeah, but the thing is though, NTJs probably like NTs in general, but NTJs really have it bad socially because I mean, as much as NTPs can complain about being under socialized and having a lot of social issues, they still have FE, so they still have a huge leg up socially over the NTJs. But NTJs are consistently demonized, derided by other, derogatorized by other types or other people on a consistent basis because no one will just accept them for who they are. And in my opinion, NTJs are the absolute because I'm an NTP. I love NTJs. I love NTJs the most. I absolutely adore them. And the thing is, though, is that they all have issues. They they have these problems where people just assume that they're terrible people, assume that they're really bad socially, assume that, well, you're selfish, you just do whatever you want, you don't care about doing the right thing. And even though they're very, very caring and they're just trying to be a good person, but at the end of the day, they're consistently treated like crap. And that's not fair. So the only thing this ENTJ can do is literally get away from those people. Like, seriously, get away from them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Um. Next question. I feel like many people may be able to relate with this, but I've typed myself as an INTJ. However, fairly frequently I find myself thinking that I'm a different type, such as an ENTP or an INFJ. I essentially find reasons to justify that I'm one type or another. The lines seem blurred to me sometimes, and I get into questioning whether I have confirmation bias for all my findings, and even wonder if it's worth doing all this thinking for a theory that may or may not stand true in reality. Is it common for INTJs to be in constant limbo with their thinking in this way? It would be nice to find closure in my type so I can see about them getting into typing others. Thanks.
That was a really big question. Can you condense that for me in a more understandable format?
All right. So this guy typed himself as an INTJ, and now
Right.
he's questioning whether he's an ENTP or an INFJ. And
Okay.
he's finding reasons to justify why he's one type or another, and it's blurring the lines.
Okay. He needs to watch
I,
season 2 and season 15 completely. He also needs to look at the virtue and vice lectures of season 7 and just compare and contrast until he comes up with an
right.
answer. And then he also needs to practice typing other people.
And then he said he gets into this confirmation bias. And then he said, is it common for INTJs to be in constant limbo and thinking this way?
Yes, it is because their TI critic is trying to verify the truth. So they spend a lot of extra time trying to verify everything. It's one of the things that's why I love the INTJ mind so much is because their incessant need to verify truth so that their beliefs match up with the truth. So it makes them valuable and it also leads to them being brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next question. It seems pretty known that ISFPs and INFPs identify more often than not with being an empath. It is often mentioned that they can be pretty great lie detectors. They both have FI hero, so there is a link between FI hero and being able to tell someone that is able of lying? Question mark. So, to put it simply, is there a link between FI hero and being able to tell someone's lying,
No, there isn't.
or is that just,
No.
FE just worrying that they're a bad person, constantly accusing someone of lying and then being right twice a day like a
No,
broken clock?
no, because from an SU standpoint, you have to focus on one person at a time and look at the history of everything they've ever said and look for inconsistencies, and then you know they're lying. Or if you're an NE user, your introverted sensing is able to compare every person you've ever experienced in the past, and you can see the patterns of people's in the past and match that pattern with the person in front of you and see if those match, and then you can basically know whether or not they're lying. That's how you lie detect. Okay, has nothing to do with what this person initially asked in terms of how to do lying. And Jab, since we're in the second hour now, let's do another round of platinum Q&A and silver Q&A. Let's do another round, one question each person, since we're in the second hour.
Roger that. Let me just pin this so we know where I'm up to. All right, let's start with platinum.
Okay.
Would someone with split personality disorder have two separate types, two different typing quadra? Question mark.
The answer to that question is that we don't know for sure. We've seen certain examples of that over time, but it's just correlation. It's not causation, so we don't know. Furthermore, I'm not an expert in psychiatry, so I have no business commenting on it in the first place. Next question.
Okay. So, given that the answer was I don't know, should we answer his next question?
Sure.
All right. With the context of TI being prone to getting stuck in assumptions, do you think you could be wrong about any of your typings done via live stream? And how do you mediate confirmation bias?
I mean, it can happen, but the thing is, though, is that anytime that I have been wrong, or at least feel I may have been wrong, I go back with TI parent and verify it anyway, and then I admit to
Mm-hmm.
whether or not I made that mistake. But no, we haven't had that happen yet. I'm very confident in the typings that we've done so far. The only
Right.
one that would remotely potentially be questionable, I would say, would have been John Cleese, but we spent so much time verifying that he was an INTJ, then that's all we had to do. So,
Right. Okay. Next question. Would you do a video over all the points where you disagree with Young?
yeah, I could, but there's really no point in doing that because you can see how I differ from Jung to begin with anyway. So, I mean, it should be
Mm-hmm.
self-evident at this point.
Right. Maybe even a simple article
Yeah, that's more of an
could be an
article.
idea. Do abstract thinkers have an easier time thinking concretely than a concrete thinker thinking abstractly?
The answer to that is no. It's definitely equal difficulty across the board.
That's good to know. Um, so regular patrons are going to get another question.
Yep, the
All
silvers.
right. As an ENFP, I would suggest making sure you have no effects possible. Okay, that doesn't sound like a question. That's just an answer to someone else's question. If logos is TIFE and ethos is TEFI, and is pathos also associated with the cognitive axis?
Uh, no, logos is Ti alone. Ethos is very Te. Uh, you could also argue that ethos could be Fe. Pathos, you could argue that is Te or Fe, etc. But reality, pathos is Fi, actually, as an appeal. So there's actually a fourth appeal that's missing. It's an incomplete system. So it's actually a flawed system. There is an individual outlook per function. We just don't know what the fourth appeal is because the Greeks never figured it out. Next.
Okay. What do you think about type and the D&D character alignments?
I don't play Dungeons and Dragons.
Me neither, unfortunately.
I mean, the only
Uh,
desire I would ever have play Dungeons and Dragons if specifically there was some awesome INTJ woman playing it that I intended on dating. Otherwise, I would have no desire whatsoever.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of computer games which use like the D&D character creation model to create your character. Like I think Neverwinter Nights did that.
Yeah, but it's not a priority for me. I don't do
Right.
tabletop games. Like the only tabletop game I would do is actually a card game, and that's Magic the
Oh
Gathering.
no!
But
I'm
even
talking
then,
about computer games.
well, I mean,
I
I
remember.
play
I
Knights
think.
of the Republic 2. Like KOTOR 2 is like literally the one of the best games ever made. It's unbelievable how good it is. Especially with like on Steam, you have like that expansion to it, which makes it even better. You know.
And I think you might even have that phenomenon with the Dragon Age games as well. I think they use a D&D system.
Yeah, but I hated Dragon Age, and I haven't played video games in a very, very long time. So
Fair enough. Let's go on to the next question then. How can I not let my TI trickster function get to me? I'm an ESFP. My TI function makes me feel.
we already answered that, actually.
Oh, do it?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, did you like answer that and I didn't delete it?
Yep.
Okay. I'm an ENFJ and a computer programmer. I feel like I am the only high FE user that is also a programmer. I know it helps me develop my TI, but sometimes I feel like I'm in the wrong field. Do you think this is a good career path for ENFJs?
NFJs are amazing computer programmers. Yes, it is a good career decision for NFJs. Yes. Especially INFJs. ENFJs can be super mega amazing as long as they're providing value, as long as they are seeing themselves as someone who is actually helping a cause with the stuff that they are programming. Other than that, they should be good to go. NFJs are amazing computer programmers. Do not think otherwise. They are awesome. In fact, a
Okay.
lot of my IT people and my development people are INFJs for a reason.
Yeah.
Mike Hart, I
Next
am a good
question.
comedian.
Yeah, he's not as good as me, so
That's true. That's true. I'm
like,
not as good as Chad.
yeah. Next question. As a male ESTP, how can I persuade my male INTJ roommate to improve himself and his relationships? He's being very mature and many times lazy. Is this type proven to be hereditary? I have seen many instances of this. I think by hereditary means is this common for
No,
ENTJs to behave like.
that's all nurture. That's all nurture. A lot of ENTJs have more mastery over women than ESTPs do with their relationships. So I don't think there's an issue really. I mean, it's just a nurture problem, and there's not much an ESTP can do other than just to straight criticize the ENTJ, and that's it.
Yeah.
Just don't be a hypocrite when you're doing it.
All right. So that's all the Patreon questions that aren't,
Doubled up.
doubled up. Yeah, exactly. So do you want to go back to the Discord or?
Did we get Valentina a second time? Just want to double check.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Okay.
She wrote 3 questions and I got the first one.
Yeah, Tanya, if you are missing us, then you need to put in the if your question's being missed somehow, you need to put in the Q&A channel and say, "I am Tanya. This is the question." Like you need to communicate here. Don't communicate on the YouTube stream. Communicate within the actual Patreon Silver Q&A channel. That way, we verify, know for a fact you are you are who you are because your question and your name does not match, right? So like, please communicate with us so that we're doing it properly.
Right. Well, I'll just keep asking some more Discord questions. We can get through a few more of them.
Sure.
I think we just smash out a few more really quickly, and then once we see that question come back up, we'll have a look at it. All right. How would an INTP son live under an ISTJ authoritarian parent? Because it sounds like a hard case of child abuse here. Yeah, it's even worse for an INTJ to live under an ISTJ authoritarian. What's up?
All right. Say again.
Chase? So the question was, how would an INTP son live under an ISTJ authoritarian parent? Because it sounds like a hard case of child abuse here.
Oh yeah, potentially that would suck. So it's on the INTP to grow up and move out and recognize it's their own fault. Like, sorry, if you're in that situation, look at yourself in the mirror and realize it's on you. And if you're underage,
Right.
Well, you know what you could do? You could go outside, go to the freaking dumpster, especially if you live in California, get bottles out of the dumpster, save up some money by taking those bottles to the recycle center, get some money, use that money to go to get a food handler's permit, and then go work at McDonald's, get a job, start saving some money, get yourself a car so you get a better job, and that way, and then go to community college while you're 16 at the same time, get college credit and high school credit simultaneously so you can graduate with an associate's degree when you're 18. Thusly, you could actually get a better job or potentially transfer to a better school, and then you could get out while saving a bunch of money. It's all on you.
Right.
Like, stop complaining about like who your parents are. I mean, my parental situation growing up sucked, but at the end of the day, I had to take personal responsibility for getting myself out of the house. It's super
Right.
important. You know what I'm saying? It's all on
Absolutely.
you. The person who is responsible for this is the person you see when you look in the mirror.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Like, the only person you can rely on is yourself in life. And, if you do manage to find someone who you can actually rely on, like, put a ring on it.
Yeah. I'm not seeing this question by Tanya, by the way. It's like not even in the Patreon Q&A channel. I don't even see it. And when I try to like ping Tanya, it's not coming up with that name. So hopefully this person can put their question in that channel again and we'll get to it. But otherwise, I'm just not seeing it. So sorry we missed it, I guess, if we did. Or maybe it's in a completely different channel entirely. I don't know.
Just a heads up, we're severely backlogged on the regular questions, but we're
We'll
gonna
get
be
through them all.
we're at 2019. We're at 2019 now, so we've got that going for us. We're no longer in 2018. We're no longer living in the previous year.
Yep.
So this next question is: does an ENFP superego (ESTP) get physical, as in beating someone up? Or, to
Yes.
put that question simply, how does an ENFP superego behave?
I actually talked about this very recently in how do ENTPs compare to ENFPs. Just watch that lecture, season 10, episode 4, and you'll have that question answered.
Okay, perfect. What seduction style would an ISTP have?
Rake. Rake.
Okay.
The rake.
Next question. Whoop. Question about a specific situation. I am an ENFJ, and all my best friends at the moment and my boyfriend are INFP or INFJ. They often talk a lot about their inner life, inner thoughts, and what goes on inside, and they are all very talkative. I find this very, very draining. I need to talk about different things than just what goes on inside them for so long. I have high value for listening to people and making them feel listened to. So I'm unsure of what to do with these personalities and if this is something I need to communicate or how to make the situation change and more bearable for me. This
Um,
person seems a bit more responding to me. Are you sure you're an ENFJ?
yeah, it doesn't sound ENFJ to me, to be honest. And an ENFJ
Perhaps
would
INFJ?
absolutely be very interested in what these people are talking about from a subject matter point of view. So I think they'll have to re-ask that question a different way for us to be able to answer it properly. So we're going to go ahead and skip that question. And I see in the YouTube chat, CS Joseph, could you change the 18 plus rule to Discord, please? And the answer to that question is hell no. We're not going to do that. The last time we had minors on our server, we were catching certain men enticing underage girls. And in a very, very bad way. And we will not have that liability. We will not have that within our community whatsoever. So that just kind of
Right.
ruined it for everybody. And minors are not welcome on our Discord server. So wait till you're 18 and then you can join our Discord server because we will not have that happening in our community whatsoever. So.
Fair enough. So shall I go on to the next question?
Yes, please do.
All right. As an INTP, how do I respond when someone asks me, how do you feel about XYZ? I really struggle to answer the question and just state a fact or observation about it generally.
That's okay.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Next.
Next question. I have an INTP friend who can be really careless at times, especially to his girlfriend, who is a really close friend of mine, and she is always pointing it out. I have called her out on it, but how should I approach the INTP friend about it, since it is his inferior function, and I don't want him to get defensive and all.
Careless in what way? Let's just assume that the question that's being asked is being asked properly. That if they're being careless, it's just because they're being selfish about their own experience and what they themselves are doing, etc. And it's through that selfishness, essentially, because they're so focused on their own introverted sense and they're so focused on their own experience and things that they have done that day or whatever, that could be an issue, while having no interest whatsoever in what his woman has potentially done. That's an issue. INTPs need to be more supportive than that. So use your ESFJ subconscious to be supportive to your woman in that regard, so you're not coming off selfish in that way. Otherwise, that's the only way that I know to answer that question, give the information we've been given.
Okay. Well, the next question is, hey Chase, what is the cognitive attitude of the demon? The video is actually out now. Maybe it wasn't when this question was asked, but
Yeah.
watch the video.
Watch the video, season 16, episode 8. Next.
Um, Sorry about that. I have a hypothesis. Sorry, did I cut you off?
No, you're good.
I have a hypothesis that the types in a hero-child loop tend to become like a backward-facing version of their aspirational type. So an INFJ will become like an inferior version of an ISTP rather than a superior version of an ESTP, like what they want to be. Furthermore, that pessimistic functions flip to become optimistic ones, and optimistic ones become pessimistic ones when the type is running in full power aspirational mode. What do you think of this hypothesis?
The first half of that hypothesis is absolutely fundamentally incorrect. The second half of the hypothesis is correct.
Okay, next question. Would ISTPs be more likely to become hoarders or shoplifters because they just pick out shit that they want constantly because of immature or unhealthy child function?
Answer that question is no.
Nothing has been mentioned in a person. Is that even a question? Oh, yes, it is. Nothing has been explained that a person with a demon function cannot use it better than a trickster function. However, it has never been discussed that demon functions can perform more/less of the trickster function than the demon slot. Why would a person with TI trickster function not be able to use that function, but a person with TI demon would be able to complete a logical thought that's even on less FPS, unless it's because it's the gateway to the super ego?
It's because it's a
Or
gateway
can't they?
function.
Okay.
And you need to look at cognitive functions. Stop looking at cognitive functions individually. You need to look at cognitive functions in groups or in combinations or axes or orbits.
Right. I've been watching your videos on the differences between direct and responding, and I was wondering about something you said. You mentioned all people have the ability to be everything. It just comes down to preference and the ego. I'm an INTJ and consider triple movement in these occurrences. Would a person be able to control with any frequency? All that we have is control in the superego. If it would be unhealthy for us to use the superego to exercise the control aspect in our life.
He said direct versus responding, and I kind of got derailed because that didn't make sense. Can you make it make sense to me? Because it just doesn't make sense to me.
So direct versus responding seems like an irrelevant fact rather than drawing you to the video. You mentioned that all the people have the ability to be everything. It just comes down to preference in the ego.
It also comes down to like what sides of their minds are, because I mean my INTJ shadow is direct, but my ego is informative, and I'm primarily my ego, so I'm primarily informative. It's all about primary versus secondary.
Right, so this person is saying, as an INTJ, they're triple movement. So would they be able to use their control function with any frequency? Since all that they have is controlling their superego.
Only through developing their superego is the only way. Otherwise, the answer is
okay. No. Okay, yeah. So I wonder if it would be unhealthy for us to use the superego to exercise the control aspect in our life. Not if you developed it correctly.
Yeah.
But if you start door slamming everyone because you're very immature with it, then yeah, that's probably unhealthy.
Yep.
Question 1. Can you please explain why SI hero would intimidate SE inferior, but SI inferior wouldn't? Because it's sending and receiving.
Uh, let's talk about bad sexual experiences. An SI hero, it's like, wow, SE inferior, you're so weak. You can't even like give me a good experience because of how weak you are. And then SI hero just laughs at SE inferior in the bedroom, like literally will laugh at them in the bedroom. Wow, you're like so needy. You try to get so deep, ha ha ha, whatever, and literally mocking them in the bedroom in that experience. So yes, SI hero could definitely be intimidating to SE inferior.
Okay. Um, of the two any DOMs, which one is more introverted?
That would be the ENTP because their subconscious is behind the scenes, also known as background type, ISFJ.
Okay.
The ENTP is the most introverted of the extroverts.
Chase, have you ever had a mystical experience or know people who have? I had one about 6 years ago after reading a book on Buddhism. It lasted 3 days, but it was an experience of almost cognitive synchronicity, including thinking about calling an old friend and having them just appear in front of me a few moments later. Do you have any thoughts on this subject?
I don't know how to define a mystical experience properly to answer this question in the way that it needs to be answered. But I will state that I'm a very spiritual person, and my spiritual belief system is one that I developed for myself, and it is my own, and no one else has it, basically, based on my own research, based on my own soul searching, based on my own journey. And that is very unique to me, and it is nobody's business whatsoever. The only person that I would ever be completely comfortable with sharing every aspect of it would be like my wife, essentially. But since I don't have a wife, that basically means I am not, or even a girlfriend for that matter, I am not interested in really sharing that part of me until I allow someone to be close to me as a result. So, but yes, next question.
All right. Are the four sides of the mind optimistic slash pessimistic in the same pattern as the cognitive attitudes are? Ego optimistic, shadow pessimistic, sub optimistic, superego pessimistic.
That was way too
So whenever you
fast.
talk,
What are these people even asking?
so are they are so they're asking, is the ego optimistic and the shadow pessimistic, and does that therefore make the subconscious optimistic and the superego pessimistic?
No, we talked about this in not the letter dichotomies debunked. We talked about this in ambiversion, the lecture that's titled Ambiversion. Look up that one. Ambiversion is a lie, and we talk about why ambiversion is not really true. But I actually touch on the answer to this question in that lecture, so please watch that lecture for the answer to that question.
Okay. Next question: how to help an ESTJ who is addicted to Pokemon Go? Well, at least they're
Uh,
getting exercise. Unless
yeah,
they're driving around in their car. Oh, I hate people who drive around in their car and play Pokemon Go.
ESTJs are also like to play Ingress as well in their car. My coworker was a hardcore Ingress player. I introduced him to the game, and he got highest level available in that game. I think it's level 16. I'm still level 9, and I've been level 9 for years because I just haven't cared that much. Although the new version of Ingress looks very visually dope, and it's a very fantastic. But I don't know what to say because they're just going to look at you with indignance if you try to challenge them on it. You can criticize them, but is it really worth criticizing them? Just let them have fun, I guess. Unless it's getting in the way of their life, then you can criticize them, or getting in the way of their relationships, etc.
Could you please suggest some hobbies for an INFJ? I tried a few things such as learning how to play the guitar, but I never had the discipline or patience to keep going. I'm currently thinking about photography or painting.
Computer programming, for sure. Uh, just focus on being useful and actually helpful to another human being instead of trying to do something for yourself. I also highly recommend Gung Fu, specifically the disciplines Jeet Kune Do, Wing Chun, and then also other disciplines, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and Muay Thai, for an INFJ. But Jeet Kune Do is absolutely would be ideal. It's ideal for ENPs and INJs as a discipline. So Be like
Fair
water.
enough. Be like water. Get drunk by Jabba. I drink lots of water, by the way.
I also
Um,
I also will drink some water.
Next question is: how does developing secondary functions work? Like for someone who is actually an extroverted type but has just overdeveloped an introverted function, so they appear introverted.
Okay, I got distracted. Say again.
How does overdeveloping secondary functions work? Like for someone who is actually an extroverted type but has overdeveloped introverted functions and therefore appear introverted.
I don't think they're asking this question properly because that's not legit. Like, what do you mean by
Okay.
overdeveloping, and what do you mean by? We're gonna have to skip that one to be honest.
All right. What are NTJs doing in leisure time and their sense of humor?
Research.
Research.
Research. NTJs do
I mean,
research in their leisure time. It's all about reading and researching consistently, which makes them awesome.
yeah, I kind of feel like Chase is informatively like trying to imply that I say re a lot.
Re.
Re. Um, Fair enough. Research. Yeah, research actually. I just started thinking like I do this. Oh wait, that's research. I do this. Oh wait, that's research. I do this. Oh wait, that's research. Um, Research and perhaps something that'll help give them what they want. So definitely in ENTJ or an INTJ, they might use gym as a hobby because they want to get their body in shape.
Yep. Gym or research. That's
Gym or
basically it.
research or yeah, swimming training or something like that. What is the difference between NE users wanting others to want them and SE users wanting others to be loyal to them?
SE users give other people a good experience. They want some return on investment on that in exchange for loyalty. They expect loyalty when they're giving other people a good experience because they expect those people to remember those good experiences over time, which creates loyalty in those people towards the SE user. NE users just want to be desired. I'm any hero, which means I very much want to be desired, wanted,
Mm-hmm.
etc. One of the reasons why I divorced my now ex-wife years back because her NI inferior was not good enough to want me because she never actually like wanted me whatsoever. So that lack of desire is not something that I could really cultivate in her. So it just caused our relationship to break down, and ultimately it led to divorce. After deciding to be honest with myself and realize that I couldn't change her, nor should I be changing her. So I
Right.
moved on.
Woo. That's deep. Next question. I'm talking to one of my ESTJ male friends, and whenever I try to get to know him better, he seems evasive and gives basically non-answers. I'm an ENTP. I might be reading too much into this,
Yeah,
but what
because you
should I
make
do
him
to get him to open
uncomfortable.
up?
You make him uncomfortable. Stop trying, like, your SE demon, if you're an ENTP, you are making him uncomfortable. You need to focus on making him comfortable first. Make him feel wanted first. Demonstrate to him that you want him, that you desire to be around him. Then he'll be more comfortable with you. And then as a result of that, he will open up, but only after the fact.
Hmm.
Mike Hart, I'd say like IT manager or a data center expert or someone in DevOps. Next question.
Oh, research. Next question. What are some good lucrative careers for INFPs? I've been considering UX design,
They
but
can
I worry
do
it's more of an NJ field. My
they can
server's
do
been
it
putting me
is
in
more
charge
of
of
an
public
NJ
relations.
field. Yes, it is. They can do civil engineering, basically any kind of mechanical engineering. Anything that has to do with SolidWorks or AutoCAD, INFPs are amazing at. Being a librarian, being an academic, being a professor of some kind, a physicist. INFPs are also amazing philosophers. And in my opinion, it's possible, my opinion, INFPs, out of all of the types, have the potential of becoming the most brilliant of all of the types at the end of the day as they gain in stature academically. So.
Sure. The guy also finished the sentence with, he was put in charge of public relations tasks recently. Should he explore that as a field?
Yeah, NFPs are extremely good at PR. They're very, very good at PR, for sure. And all about bending the narrative to suit the will of the organization they represent. I recommend reading Ryan Holiday's work, specifically Trust Me, I'm Lying. That will give you some pointers on how to go about proper PR practices.
Perfect.
And he's an ENTP.
Next question is, are Frank and Claire from House of Cards INTJ and ENTP? Don't watch the show, sorry.
Frank
Chase, this is up to you.
Underwood, like we already typed him in a recent type stream. I just don't remember what we said he was. He's not an INTJ.
I think we said
though.
He was
an ENTJ.
Didn't we say he was an ENTP?
No, I think he's an ENTJ.
Okay.
According to the episode we did on Frank Underwood. Next.
Or it could have been an ESTJ.
Yep.
Super chat. Advice for an INTJ brother relationship, please. ESFP. So I think this is an ESFP with an INTJ brother. Any advice for their relationship?
You have to pretend to care about their feelings. Basically, you have to let them do whatever they want and have a choice. You have to give up your choice for the sake of their choice. You have to give up your feelings for the sake of their feelings. You have to never ask them what they think and let them ask you what you think and pretend that you actually know something. It's just a lot of pretending in that ESFP INTJ relationship. And for some reason, people who think duality relationships are actually super compatible, those people can like literally go into the dumpster because that's not even remotely accurate. Good luck. If you want some tips on how to do that functional emulation, go into season 1, watch the episode functional emulation of the cognitive functions, and you'll gain some tips on how to do that properly.
Wow. Perfect. Let's keep moving forward. Hi, how to try and make an ESTP commit? Thank you.
Getting an ESTP commit is just as hard as getting an INFP or an INTP to commit. It's really difficult to get an ESTP to commit. Basically, you have to give them an ultimatum. You have to be like, hey, I'm loyal to you. I have this huge track record of loyalty to you. Why do you think that you cannot commit me to this? Like, do you not want me? Because if you don't want me, I'm going to find someone else who does. Because if you don't want me, this is your opportunity. Like, like, get off the pot if you're not going to take a crap. Like, seriously.
Wow.
Yeah, you really just have to move for an ultimatum and be like, here's your choices. You could choose to commit or you could choose not to commit. And if this is an ESTP man and you're a woman, you as the feminine have the right to challenge the masculine to keep the masculine strong. Always challenge the masculine. Always test the masculine. It is the function of the feminine. It is what the feminine exists to do. The masculine cannot be strong without the challenge of the feminine. So make sure you are challenging him consistently, and you'll be more successful in your relationship. Do it respectfully, but always make sure that your challenge is put forth.
Okay. Do you suggest an INTP follow the book Mastery?
Yes.
Perfect. Hi, Chase. In the last live stream, you claimed that Tulsa was an INTP. Can you elaborate on that? I personally think he's an INTJ.
Who?
Tesla.
Tesla? Yeah, Tesla is an NTP, for sure. He allowed people like Edison to take full advantage of him in the same way that Benjamin Franklin allowed someone to take advantage of him that caused him to be stranded in London for many, many years before he made it back to the colonies. Yes,
Right.
Tesla is an NTP. He is not an INTJ.
Fair enough.
I'm gonna derail real quick. I found Tanya's question and moved it over to Patreon Q&A, so you can grab it from there.
Thank you.
Oh, did she post it in the wrong channel?
Yep.
Okay. Hi, this is Tanya again. My question wasn't answered, so please answer it. Thanks. I'm an ESF.
I did answer that question, actually. I actually did answer that question. But I'll answer it again. And thank you, Puddin' Pops. So, how can I understand my TI trickster function better? Basically, in order for you to develop, you need to develop your subconscious and your unconscious first in the same way that you would your demon function. But your TI trickster is just that as an ESFP, you're focused on beliefs and beliefs only and belief systems. So you can't verify your beliefs. It doesn't matter how much research you do. You're just going to be always thinking about what other people are saying or thinking about a particular subject. You need to surround yourself with TI users and let them verify your beliefs for you. Get multiple TI users around you through verification of your beliefs. That way, if they're all saying the same thing, it's more likely to be true, and then you can have confidence that your beliefs are actually matching the truth. Otherwise, do not rely on your verification whatsoever, because the more you try to verify, the more you're going to fail in that area, and then you're going to start believing the wrong thing. And the only other thing I would add to that is read, research, develop your TE child as much as possible to try to stave off belief systems being intermixed with lies, essentially.
Okay. Next question: would you ever start a college? Because I'd love to learn everything related to what you already teach.
No, I will not be starting a college or even getting remotely involved in the collegiate process. If anyone wants to give me an honorary degree somewhere, I'm totally down for that, but that'll be the extent of my exposure to anything collegiate related. Otherwise, we'll have courses and other things available online through Patreon or Teachable or our website in the near future so that you can continue to learn and study the subject matter. Otherwise, I'll have nothing to do with the collegiate system at this time.
Fair enough. Is Richard Feynman an ENTP or an ENFP?
No idea. Next.
You don't know who Feynman is?
Nope.
I mean, I've heard of him, but I haven't really watched much of his lectures. An INFJ's main export in life is helping people. In this sense, what is an INTJ's main export in life?
Making people more intelligent, optimized, and efficient.
Fair enough. You say life is about wisdom. Please define wisdom.
Wisdom is the lesson that you learn as a result of failure. Next question.
Why do you think INFJs make up at least half of the patrons supporting your Patreon?
Because statistically, when people look into MBTI or Jungian analytical psychology related subject matter, INFJs are more interested in this subject matter than any of the other types.
Mm-hmm. I'm having a lot of difficulty typing my family members. Is this common, and is there a particular reason why one might struggle with this?
Sometimes the people closest to you are the hardest to type.
Okay.
Especially because you've known them so long, because familiarity breeds contempt.
Right. Earlier you said you're a critic of Jordan Peterson. Is this because he supports the Big Five? No, I think it's because you called him a globalist.
Yeah, he's a globalist. That's my problem with Jordan Peterson. The content in 12 Rules for Life is accurate, and I agree with it, and I enjoy that book, but I do not appreciate the company that he keeps. And while he may deny that he is a globalist by words, if we are going to judge him by his deeds, he's definitely a globalist, and I'm not interested in... that's my main criticism of him, so...
Okay. I find the system you've made too situational. I'm talking about interaction styles. It depends heavily on people one talks to the situation that person is in, specifically the direct or informative part. Correct if I'm wrong. Alright, so I'm going to need to reconstruct this entire sentence because it doesn't make sense to me. And I doubt it makes sense to you.
No, it does not.
I'm talking about interaction styles. It depends heavily on people one talk to situation the person. So I think he's saying that
no, I'm not depressed today, I'm just exhausted. There's the difference. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, let's just skip that. I can't put that together. It's too hard. Will you be doing a video on corrupted types, and would it be linked to the superego?
We toyed with that, but it's not as much of a priority as the other lectures. Maybe we'll get to that eventually.
Fair enough. When giving gifts to people, are their general likings tied to their type/cognitive function, nurture, nature, or a mix of the both, or none of the above?
It's mostly nature.
Can a hero function be someone's detriment? Like, is it possible to fail with your hero function? In
Yes.
my case,
We
I'm an
see it all the time.
ESFP.
Go ahead.
Go on. I'm an ESFP with overly self-conscious of my five senses. Like, it freaks me out when I sneeze at work. I also find it really uncomfortable when people cough or clear their throat or even sniffle. I wonder what the deal is. LMAO. Help?
Yeah, because SE Hero is all focused on how people in general would react to something. So they're only reacting negatively to someone sniffling or clearing their throat like that because people in general, they feel that people in general would react to that. I don't react that way. So because I don't, your SE Hero is just automatically wrong. So maybe you should like realize that just because you imagine in your mind that that's how people would typically react to the situation doesn't make it actually true. This is something I have a problem with ESTPs with as well, and actually all SPs for that matter. It's really frustrating because, like, for example, I could never really have a close relationship or romantic relationship with an SP woman because they wouldn't be able to handle my intensity. They absolutely would not be able to handle my intensity because maybe an ISFP could, but the others could not because it doesn't matter like how far I go for them. They're like, well, people would react to that negatively and they would see that as creepy. So I'm automatically going to label you as creepy instead of like actually trying to understand where you're coming from. And I'm just fast to label you and put you in a box and then screw you. You don't have an opinion and you're obviously really bad at this. And it's like, okay, thank you SPs for that. No thanks. Here's another example of a hero function failing. TI hero. You can get so arrogant and so set in their own thinking that they won't even consider that they might actually be not correct about something. Because here's the problem with TI. You have a logical chain of decisions that's being made, but it's like a Jenga tower. And if there's one flaw, the entire chain above that one flaw is completely wrong. So they need to be course corrected, and that's why TE users exist to course correct the TI users. TI users are very, very brilliant, but they can end up having some serious flaws in their logic if they do not have proper TE research input provided to them for them to think about and process appropriately. So just remember, garbage in, garbage out. That is the problem with TI, and it's especially bad with TI heroes sometimes because they can get so arrogant and stuck in their thinking that they don't even realize how wrong they are. So I could also
Got to bring in a TE parent.
Yes, exactly. You got to bring in a TE parent or even a TE hero to make sure it's done right. But even TE hero could actually be wrong with their research as well. So that's why it's nice to have pessimistic functions around optimistic functions to keep the optimistic functions honest.
I mean, you're hurting the children, TI hero.
Yeah,
Stop hurting the children.
Yeah.
Does anyone have a complete list of ways to motivate each type? So far, I have an INTJ equals remove support structure. INFP make them accountable.
We can probably put that together, but it's different for everyone, and that's way too much to cover right now. We're gonna have to skip that question and table that for a lecture.
Or an article.
Yep.
Could we get a lecture on how the subconscious functions are determined and subsequent lectures on what they each relate to added onto season 16?
That is season 17. That is coming.
All right. I don't really watch your Q&A videos, so I can't tell if this question was asked you before, but nonetheless. Why is the INTP mistyping so common? Even if it's just my perception and it's not that common. Also, which factors could lead to it happening and any tips on how to identify fake INTPs?
Okay, so this happens with everyone. The MBTI test itself is at most 40% accurate and can only be utilized for ballparking. We discussed this at length in the lecture, the MBTI letter dichotomies debunked, which is just one of our recent lectures. Please watch that lecture and you'll get the answers to that question.
Fair enough. Why exactly do you think your video on the mature feminine queen archetype is your least popular video?
Why do I think my queen archetype is the least popular video? We live in a feminist society. What do you expect? Feminist women don't like being told the truth. Sorry. If women have this attitude that, they're trying to, they want to have their cake and eat it too. Like, oh, this Disney princess fairy tale standard of, yay, Prince Charming's just going to pick me up, yay, and then sweep me out my feet and I'm good to go. And then I don't have to really earn any of that. That's ridiculous. No, women have to earn the right to be queens. They have to earn the right to be chosen by a king, someone who is actually a king, someone who has the mature masculine. They have to earn that right. How do they earn that right? Well, they work hard. They make sure that their beauty is and their humility is available to their man so that they are chosen as a princess to become the queen, basically, of his kingdom, right? And if you're just going to be like, well, I don't have to because, I should be, whether or not I have a fine ass or not should not be like any part of a man's decision making to get with me. And it's like, okay, well, actually, I'm sorry, but it kind of is because whether or not you're physically attractive or not just tells me how much, as a woman, whether or not you are responsible. Because here's the thing, if a woman cannot take care of herself, that proves to men in general that you as a woman are irresponsible. Okay? And if you're irresponsible and not able to take care of yourself, especially when it comes to your beauty, as it's talked about in the Queen Archetype lecture, then for what reason would a man want to give you his signet ring and make you his queen? Because it just shows that if you're irresponsible with your own health and your own body, that means you're going to be irresponsible in the kingdom. You're going to be irresponsible with your subjects. You might be an irresponsible mother because it just shows that you don't care, right? And that's what it says to men. It's not about men being like these animals, these sexual animals that feminism would teach, where it's like, oh, hey, they only care about whether or not I have a fine ass and big tits. That's all they care about. As someone who actually, like, let's be honest, I don't really care whether or not a woman has really large tits or not. I just don't care, okay? Like, I'm attracted to a woman who has amazing hair and, a nice rear end. That's just kind of like my approach to things. But like but I'm also an SI user. SI users are more attractive to women in that regard. SE user men, they're all about tits. Let's be honest. That's just how they are. But that's fine because guess what? SE user, women have things differently in that regard, and SI user women have things differently in that regard, and their bodies actually develop according to their cognition as a result, and then somehow, some way, they're still attractive to the specific types that they should be for their golden pair. Just allow nature to run its course, folks, and stop freaking out about it. It's like really frustrating, But this idea that, men are animals, they only care if if I have a fine ass or a pair of tits, that's categorically wrong. That's absolutely wrong. So like from a feministic standpoint, realize what the truth is. If you are unhealthy, that proves to a man that you are irresponsible. Ergo, not somebody they can be attracted to or trust with their kingdom or their subjects or their children, right? Because that's just how it works in the male mind. It has nothing to do with them being sexual animals. It has nothing to do with that. It's all about showing and proving responsibility. And if you want to be, as a woman, chosen to be a queen and be given their signet ring as kings, you need to make sure that you are taking responsibility for your beauty. I'm sorry, that's a fact. Why is that important? Think about it. Women of old, before this feminist society ran its course, they had a lot more time on their hands. And that they did with that time is they spent that time on taking care of their beauty. But women have less time nowadays, especially since we have things like the Federal Reserve, which consistently decides to do quantitative easing, aka printing money, which reduces the buying power of the dollar, which forces women to work in as much as men have to work, because it takes 2.5 incomes basically right now to provide for a family if you're considering minimum wage. 2.5 incomes, right? Because 2 incomes is not enough, which means women don't have time to take care of themselves. Women don't have time to be healthy. They don't have time to grow their beauty. So it sounds like feminist society has actually destroyed women in this regard. Wow, that's effective. You know what I'm saying? So stop blaming the men. It's not our fault. Except unless you could blame the men for allowing the Federal Reserve for doing that to women in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Again, it's a multi-causal issue, but a lot of people aren't even aware of that. So it's an issue. Okay, and a lot of people disagree with me on this, and they're quick to tell me I'm a sexist or I'm a misogynist or whatever. No, I'm not. I'm just being real. I'm sorry. A man is not going to marry an ugly woman. Because an ugly woman equals an irresponsible woman. Or an arrogant woman, even worse. than that. And let me tell you, I have noticed for some reason in my life, statistically, ugly women are more likely to be arrogant. So, really? Why? Why are they arrogant? Because they're using that pride to overcompensate for the insecurity of their ugliness, which makes them even uglier. You see what I'm saying? So again, I get that the queen archetype lecture is not everyone's favorite, especially among women, but that's not my fault. I'm here to tell the truth. And I am here to be biased. If you don't like my bias, oh well. Take what I say with many grains of salt. But I guarantee you, you won't be able to prove me wrong. So I can be biased if I'm right. So hashtag get over it, because it's the truth. If you don't like what I say in the queen archetype, it's not my problem. But hopefully you see the value in it and actually develop yourselves and grow yourselves as women as you expect the men to be growing themselves too. And I'm not here to just be all like on women. I have way more attention and way more standards and way more crap that I've thrown on the men because I'm tired of man being man children. I'm so tired of it. Stop being man children, guys. Grow up. Read No More Mr. Nice Guy. Read 12 Rules for Life. Read How to Be a 3% Man by Corey Wayne. Grow up, gentlemen. Grow up. Actually become gentlemen instead of losers. I'm tired of you all being losers. Now, to the men out there who are not losers, thank you, and please lead by example and help out your fellow men. It's really important. We're not going to change society. We're not going to destroy fatherlessness until this happens, right? But then, C.S. Joseph, he's just a misogynist and he's obviously sexist. No, it's not about that. I'm just telling the truth. It's not my fault if you won't listen to the truth. Sorry. Rant over.
Right. Well, we should probably start wrapping this up because I think we're over 2 hours now.
I think we had a super chat.
So, yeah, we do have a super chat. The super chat comes from Meta, and he says, or she says, I'm not sure of the gender, as a fun thought experiment, if an INTP became really high-functioning alcoholic, could they potentially raise their long-term earning potential by living in their ENTJ shadow?
That's a really good question. The answer is technically no. Short term, I have seen some people be successful using mind-altering substances in that way, but only very limited capacity and only in the span of a few days. But if they use it as a crutch for like some long-term ploy to utilize the other sides of their mind to do that, no. And again, that's just them being selfish. How about that INTP has relationships with ENTJs to handle those ENTJ things with them and actually share with other people and learn how to share instead of being selfish? That would be nice. Because then the INTP can rely on relationships with other people to help them be successful instead of trying to do everything themselves because their TE nemesis is like, I can't trust what other people say or do. I don't think that other people are smart enough to handle this, and I'm obviously the smartest person in the room, so that means I need to do everything myself and not trust anyone else with it. Yeah, like, okay, thank you, INTP there. Go be selfish in a corner and enjoy your bottle of whiskey for the evening because that's all you deserve. Instead, why don't you just trust other people and develop relationships? Find people that you can actually be loyal to, especially NTJs who are committed to your vision, committed to what you're doing for your organization, and move forward with those people. That would be more effective in the long run, right? So that's how I'd answer that question.
Right, fair enough. Do you want to answer a few YouTube questions now and we'll call it a day, or do you want to just call it a day now?
Yeah, we'll do 2 or 3 YouTube questions. So those on YouTube, just throw up a question on that. Mike Hart, you need to read the book Big Magic as soon as possible. If you have not read that book, you need to read that book.
I'm just going to scroll up and see if there's anything up high. What are the top 5 books ENTJ should read first?
First book they need to read is Lean Startup as soon as possible. Lean Startup. They also need to read Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson. .com Secrets by Russell Brunson. They also need to read No More Mr. Nice Guy, 12 Rules for Life, How to Be a 3% Man by Corey Wayne. And what else is it? How to Write Copy That Sells. App Empire and Launch by Jeff Walker. And I think that covers it for ENTJ books.
All right. I know you've answered this question before, but just for the sake of triggering you, what do you think of the Big 5?
I think the Big Five is the absolute de facto standard of psychological analysis out there. There is no better test than the Big Five. The MBTI test has nothing on the Big Five, and the Big Five, especially because Dr. Jordan Peterson endorses it consistently, while Tai Lopez, the ENFP, also trashes it consistently and maintains that Hexaco is the absolute best test that there ever was. We should all go out of our way to make sure that we take the Big Five and leverage the Big Five in absolutely every area of our life, especially in education, especially in relationships, especially in the bedroom, especially from the pulpit as we're preaching at church. Everyone must know how amazing the Big Five is. When in reality, because here's the reality, it belongs in the dumpster.
Dumpster!
Oh, look.
All right, we got another super chat. We got another super chat. Mr. Jeremy Wilder, $5. Thank you, sir. What can I do to have a more compatible relationship as an INFJ male with an ISFJ female?
Wow. There's like no emotional compatibility in that relationship, and there's not much sexual compatibility. It's kind of like not really, because that ISFJ female's like, SE inferior, are you sure you're able to give me a good experience? You know, I mean, there's some potential sexual problems that could potentially be in that relationship either. Otherwise, just be like, tell the ISFJ woman, yeah, I want you, and say that over and over again. Demonstrate your passion for them, I guess. Focus on making them as comfortable as possible. But don't be emotionally needy around them, even though they're going to be emotionally needy around you. And then it's just going to cause both of you to become emotionally drained, which will lead to a breakup eventually, which is why I do not recommend that relationship whatsoever. You'd be better off, if you're going to be with anyone in that quadra, you'd be better off with an ENTP instead of an ISFJ or an INTP. Because at least you have high sexual compatibility there, even though you still have that lacking in emotional compatibility for that relationship to take place or actually work. So just be aware of that. Otherwise, I'd stay away from ISFJs, as an INFJ for sure. And if you want to really optimize your life, go for ENFPs or INFPs. NFPs belong with NFJs, stay there and handle that, and you'll be much more successful.
Wow, okay. Do you want to wrap it up here, or do you want to answer a question?
I'll answer one last question. What are the flaws you see in the Big Five? The flaws that I see is that the Big Five cannot tell the difference between nature and nurture. That is the problem with it. And then making decisions based off of Big Five results is entirely subjective. Just like the MBTI test with little percentages are entirely subjective. TE Critic says no. Into the dumpster it goes. So.
Dumpster.
Cool. All right. So how do you convince an INFP that they're lazy? You have to publicly shame her and have multiple people tell her to her face that she is lazy with reasons why. And you have to have multiple people do it at once. INFPs benefit the most out of all the types from interventions. Yay! Have an intervention. Shame her. And then you'll get the results of her being motivated to change after that. But no one's willing to tell her because she's so sensitive. No one's willing to tell her the truth. Okay, I get that INFPs are sensitive, and I love INFPs. In fact, I actually have I have many really good INFP friends, but sorry, they get so stuck in their ways that they just need to be shamed every now and then, because if they're not going to be obligated and actually fulfill those obligations, sorry, not sorry. Sometimes you have to have that intervention and shame them in front of their family and friends and people closest to them in order for them to realize, to be snapped out of, oh, wow, multiple people, multiple sources are telling me that I'm lazy. Maybe I should do something about that, because if it's just their boyfriend or their husband telling them that they are lazy, they're not going to listen to just one person, even if that person is their husband, the man that she should be respecting. That's not how INFPs work. So, yeah. Oh, look, another super chat. Good work.
Yeah, good work. Thanks for all the content.
Yep.
Thank you, Lucky Coast.
That is, yes, thank you, Lucky Coast. That is completing episode 20 for question and answer. Also, I'm sure many of you noticed that episode 19 is no longer available, and it will remain no longer available. Sorry about that, folks. But 19 is in the wind, and it is gone. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, other than that, Jab, I think we'll see you folks Tuesday night for our next How to Type stream. We're also going to be scheduling the fictional typing stream soon, and also scheduling the specific Patreon events. Look for those posts on Patreon. We're definitely going to handle that. And I believe we have another lecture that's going to be early access tonight or tomorrow with release on the following day, and many more lectures to come. I believe the next lecture is going to be a bonus episode from Season 2, Episode 11. It's going to be pretty awesome. And then we have Season 14, Episode 4, Patreon Private. This is going to be the fourth golden pair, ENFJs and INFPs. Yes, you heard it, folks, an actual INFP lecture. It will be made available through Patreon Gold Tier. So there you go. There you folks have it. Hopefully you guys can go see it when it is posted. Hopefully it will be posted tonight. We're really hoping for that. Otherwise, thank you, Jav, for staying up really, really, really late to facilitate this typing stream or this Q&A session. Otherwise, we'll see you folks in 1 week.
My love for the Euros. See you in a week. Well, a couple of days, actually, for the typing, but whatever.
Have fun.
Have fun. See you later. Thanks for coming.